Hello, we are live on location in Kamloops with Arjun Singh, the executive director of the Kamloops Chronicle, a new newspaper in Kamloops. I need to reveal, full disclosure here, that I am associated with the Kamloops Chronicle. I am the editor of the Kamloops Chronicle. I know it's shocking, but I'm not here to talk about my involvement in the Chronicle today. I'm here.
I can talk about that.
He can talk about that. And this is his opportunity to say all kinds of things about the editor that I can't respond to. Arjun, welcome. Thanks for joining us today.
Oh, thanks for doing this. Well, I really appreciate the opportunity to talk to you guys about this.
What's your position? I know nothing, so it's good that I ask.
Yeah, so I guess the story starts it's almost a year ago, actually. We got a group of people together, and we were all lamenting the loss of local newspaper in town. The Kamloops This Week had been gone at that time probably 10 months, and I had been sort of talking to folks about that throughout spring and summer of last year. And finally we got a group together, and we decided to start a nonprofit called the Kamloops Local News Society and start working with the Chronicle. And we just basically, people who were there, who showed up, we all kind of started working together, and Todd became the editor and I became the executive director, and we have people now. We were on, so we started publishing end of October, and almost every month since then we've had a regular monthly issue. So we're on issue 11 now coming up, and so it's pretty exciting stuff. We are able to pay professional journalists or local journalists to work for the paper freelance, which is pretty cool. And we had a lot of community support so far, so it's been a pretty exciting journey.
The approach of building this as a nonprofit feels like something that's relatively a new concept for newspapers, not sort of being strictly a business. What was the motivation for approaching a new newspaper that way?
Well, I think newspapers as a business, which is kind of like where there's a strong dollars and cents motivation, it's challenging. It's challenging to get community support. It's challenging to not get bought out by a bigger player if you're successful, and have the paper shut down if it's got some, it's not making enough money, even if it's making some money, or there's issues with that. So I think the idea about a nonprofit, and initially we also thought maybe, and may so develop that way into kind of a co-op thing with people, but the idea around those structures is to kind of make it much more of a community sort of focused, community engaged kind of exercise, where you're not sometimes I kind of wonder to myself, I could have done this as a business. I could have been a lot easier, maybe in some ways, but it's a lot more solid, and a lot more people in the community are supporting it because we're a nonprofit, I think.
Yeah. And so what is the distinction then between sort of what the board does, and then how is the the newspaper set up? Is there a separation? How does that work?
Well, I mean, it's funny you're asking me that question, because you know how that's all. I'm gonna put that aside for a second. So we have a board of 6 who help out with various things, but operationally, yourself and myself, we kind of, work throughout the month on getting the papers out every month on the monthly schedule. And so the board does, the board is kind of also trying to find its feet as to how it wants to, position itself. Is it a governance board? Is it more of a working board? Is it, and I think it's sort of been a hybrid in some ways, but I also think that, there's a real sort of learning process around what that's going to look like kind of going forward. And so I think that, I think it's probably, and so the board meets every month. The board's also in kind of constant communication on various things. We bounce ideas off them all the time, or update them on various things. And it's good to have as much input as you can have, because I've never done this before. I mean, you have. I've never done this before in terms of, running a newspaper. So it's, for me, a learning experience in many ways. The benefit for me is I know lots of people in town, and I've been around a long time, so it's kind of easy to sort of network.
What did you do before this?
I was a city councilor for 14 years and have a family business. My parents came to town way back in the 60s from sort of directly or indirectly from India. So
And do you think that work experience kind of transferred to this job? Does that help you in any way?
in a way, it helps in a way that it kind of hinders. I think people sometimes think, is it a political platform for me? And it's really not. I mean, for me, it's like I just when I was serving as an elected official, I always really valued the media's role, and even when I knew it was going to be a difficult conversation, I would always, contact them back, and because they were really the voice of the people in a lot of ways in terms of the questions they were asking, and I was really upset when we started getting less and less media in town. So I think that's the motivation. So yeah, there's kind of pro and con to that background in terms of working with a paper now, but I think. I write a column and I have opinions in the column in the paper and that kind of thing. But I think ultimately, from the perspective of being, the sort of publisher's representative, kind of working on all this stuff, on coordinating everything, and then doing the business side of things, you want to make sure that it's an open place for all sorts of people that you don't agree with, for sure, should be given space, in the paper, and it's all really around basic. Values of don't attack people, don't be horrible, sort of in your behavior, and any views kind of welcome. So even initially, I make sure that we would get voices that I knew were not who had different views than I do, coming to talk to us. Right, here comes Justin.
All right. Well, we should maybe.
So this is like another employee, coworker.
Yeah, contractor. Yeah, Justin's one of our.
And he's here to pick up paper.
Yep.
Here we got papers.
We're gonna
paper boy.
We're gonna get out of the
Well, I
way
wouldn't call him that.
of the.
A delivery technician.
Oh, a delivery technician. I like it.
Well, and it was a pretty rapid timeline between when you sort of the first meeting between the people who had expressed an interest and when the first paper came out.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about like how that kind of that speed and that rush timeline, how that worked?
Well, yeah, I guess I thought to myself, my own personal feeling is that like we need to get a product out. We need to get something out to prove that it was actually a possible thing, and also. It wasn't actually hard initially to raise. So the initial issue was like basically funded by at least $1,000 donations from a bunch of people in town. So those were actually easier than I thought to get. Plus, I didn't even know about advertising sales at that time, and people started asking about putting ads in the paper. So like, obviously there was kind of a latent interest and demand for a print publication that was just waiting for somebody to do something, and before we started, there was a lot of, there's obviously lots of people say, how could you do it if no one else could kind of put it together, the company can't do it. But I think it's really about the community saying, because you listen to it all the time, like when Kellen's this week went down, I mean, there's just a hue and a cry, right?
Yeah.
And they, unfortunately, in my view, there wasn't really an outreach to the community as it was going down to kind of help. It was like, you learned about it the week before and then it was gone.
Right.
And so, so this is like the opposite. It's like, we want everybody in the community to feel this is their paper and that they own it. And people who want to be able to read a print paper, now once a month, but hopefully once a week eventually, again, even more frequently would be nice. We can build this together. So I think the idea of having it happen as quickly as it happened, part of it was like, okay, we gotta showcase something, but also it was like the support was already there for it, waiting to kind of something to happen.
Do you think there was so much support because people just really missed Kamloops this week? So a lot of people are just eager to have it back?
And there's different reasons, I think, Kelsey. Like one reason is like lots of folks we found, like we put a QR code to donate in the first issue. And people are like, you idiots, you should have a mailbox. Because I don't use the internet. I don't know QR codes. So a lot of our readers, not maybe the majority, but a lot of readers are people who just are not digital interested, right? But even those who are digital interested, a town of 100,000 people not having a paper just felt like we lost a bit of our community fabric, our community knitting. So the idea about, so people just, wow, we've always had a paper in Kamloops.
Yeah.
Like for like 140 years, whatever it's been. So I think, it was, people were, and like sometimes when that happens, people just don't know what to do. They're kind of like, how do we get it back going again, right? So a few of us who kind of knew the community and knew how to organize, knew newspapers, put the framework together, and now it's really people can fill in, like they can really help make it even better and better and better.
How are some ways that community members can do that?
Are you proud of the papers, like compared to the first month versus now? Like it's almost 1 year later. Is there much of a difference from the first paper to the most recent?
Yeah, I think there is. I mean, I'm obviously, I'm declaring my bias. I mean, I've been working on it, really diligently for a long time.
Yeah,
now.
you should. Of course, you should be proud.
But I think that objectively speaking, when you look at the bank account, when you look at the interest of people who are submitting stuff, look at the ad interest. Yeah, I mean, it's going well. And
good.
It's there's always people are people, and sometimes it's always sometimes a little interesting working with people, probably even post COVID, because everybody's so like isolated. It's kind of like trying to get people to kind of like work together and kind of like get the right rhythms kind of going, and how people like to work, and who you can joke with, and who you have to be more straight with, and who you have to like kind of be more gentle with, and who you have to kind of kick their pants a bit, and all that kind of stuff. But it's really, I mean, it's basically a community building project, right? And so you have to really figure out, you have to go through some tough times, and sometimes there have been tough times in a big way with this, but there's always a little we had a hater for a while that Todd had to kind of, and I had to kind of like deal with on Facebook and social media, and
I know,
and that happens the odd time. And
but that means you made it.
Well, it just means that someone who's very, very extreme in our view is kind of coming at us, and it's not very pleasant for a while having to navigate that. And also, like a certain segment of the population, that's the first thing that comes up is like I was after you guys, right? It's like people sometimes don't look at all the positive stuff.
Yeah,
they kind of focus on the one criticism you've had or the blah blah blah, right? Which is just part of life. So I mean, I just chalk it up to, like, if you're in the arena and if you're doing cool stuff, you're always going to have some issues kind of come here and there.
It's good to learn how to deal with those sort of situations anyway. Yeah. I mean, you don't want to, but it's good to, grow from that.
Well, I'm a junior senior citizen now. I'm 55 years old, so my wisdom, just kidding.
Congrats on being old.
And being wise, because it doesn't faze me like it used to.
So as a newcomer to the newspaper industry, what would you say was the most surprising thing or most challenging thing for you when you first encountered it?
I mean, it's funny because there was lots of initial challenges for sure, like just figuring out where to print it, how to get it laid out, like who's going to write for it. Like but it was funny because I just started asking folks, for that help. And that help just kind of came. I mean, so, you came on as editor. Then there was Lee Malbuff, who's designed Kamloops this week. I'm not sure I connected with Lee, but I connected with Lee somehow. Maybe you connected me with Lee, actually. And then Lee came on to design the paper as the templates. And then Lee connected with Monica, who's our ad designer now. Monica works very closely with us every month, she's doing some sales for us, the ad design. Then I was like, well, where the hell do you print a paper? Like, I don't even know how to print a paper. Like, where do you print a paper? Then Brandy from the Red and Sun Peaks Sun Peaks Independent News said, oh, I print over here. So talk to this guy in Coquitlam, this company. They're great. They're wonderful. They do a great job for us. And then people started, as we started putting out issues, people started, coming with various things. So, that's been, I guess, the thing I don't like them. I like the leases. Getting it out, distribution is. I don't like.
Distribution.
I don't
do all that work. You gotta.
I don't like distribution.
Yeah,
but that's just me, right?
Yeah.
But the reason why we are here is because there is no office.
There's no office.
Do you think one day there will be,
yes.
or yeah?
Yeah, I think one day there'll be office and full-time staff, and there'll be, place people can go and pay their bills, and this is really just kind of an attempt to get things started and then get it to a point where, it's sort of a sustainable operation. And then, we'll see what kind of goes on. I mean, I'm really kind of like, the things that I really care about, I think, are probably keeping it nonprofit, keeping it really community driven, And but I think other people, we need other people to kind of come and be involved with it for sure, right? I mean, we've set up a pretty strong start, and so I want to get to a point where people just don't bat an eye; they want to be involved with it, right? I don't want to have people have. I want to try and take away people's hesitation in any way it's possible to get involved and be helpful.
So what is your schedule like? Like you guys have other jobs, other day jobs.
Yeah.
So this is like a side gig for you.
It is right now.
But a side gig that takes quite a bit of your time.
Yeah, it's a side gig that could be definitely a full-time gig for somebody,
Right.
for sure.
And are you hoping for that for yourself?
I don't know. I mean, I know. I mean, probably not. I mean, I think that when I don't really count my time that way. It's sometimes I work for myself, for my family business for such a long time that I don't really like work. I work. Sometimes I work 5 in the morning. I work 8 to 9 at night. Sometimes I work in the daytime. It's my I go on holiday for a couple of weeks. Like it's just kind of like
that's cool. I mean,
it's nice. I mean, it's a little bit like sometimes it creates a bit of a like you don't have that. You don't get into a really regular routine, which is probably a bad thing sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
But what I'm saying there is that, for me, it's like I think what we all want to see is the paper be published more frequently and it being sustainable, right? So we have to build those. We have to get the revenue for that. We have to get the content for that. We have to figure out distribution for that, and probably some other things as well. And once we do that, and all that stuff's very achievable, I think. And none of that stuff's actually has at least seemed to me so far to be anything that we can't do. Mm-hmm. We have to figure out how to get there, right? And so because we are all working outside of us, I run a family business with my mom with property management, and I have a consulting business. I have some small. This is my biggest consulting contract right now, but I have some smaller ones. So, but I mean, I'm really committed. I think we all are to make sure that the core team is really committed to make sure that we have, this happen more frequently and it's sustainable.
While we're talking about potential for other people to get involved and help out, before I forget, how would be the best way for people to get in touch with the Chronicle if they did want to connect, help out, donate, whatever?
Yeah, so there's 2 ways mainly. So one is our email, which is info@kamloopschronicle.com. That's my email that I read. Editor@kamloopschronicle.com gets you all the editorial stuff. So if someone wants to submit something, it's probably better to go to editor@kamloopschronicle.com. And I keep on forgetting our number, but I'm going to pull it up on my phone right now.
Do that. It is very serious stuff.
250
I won't repeat it.
851 9630. So
One more time.
Yeah, 250-851-9630. And you can put a little thing on the bottom with the thing if you're editing this.
Yeah, tell us.
But that's the number to call. And
would it be possible to get like a 3 digits and then news phone number?
I don't know. It's a good question.
That'd be cool.
It would be cool.
Right? 305
also,
News.
Just one thing to say about that, I'm just as I'm sort of thinking about people who contact us. A lot of folks contact about obituaries these days. Obituaries are something people ask for. It's something that people are now more and more contacting us about. Mm-hmm. And we have to update our website. Our website doesn't have to have obituary information on the website itself, so they have to basically contact us to get that information. But that's kind of a really interesting piece because it's very humbling in a way to be kind of given that responsibility to publish something of people's passing in the paper, and it's quite meaningful. It's also quite nerve-wracking in some ways because you don't want to get anything wrong.
You don't want to misspell their name or
don't want to get anything wrong, and so early on, I actually missed one person who asked, and so I put it in the next issue, and so that was a really awful thing that I did. I felt really bad about. But they were very gracious about it. And, kind of didn't make me feel too bad.
Well, with the issues being a month apart, that does make it it's a time challenge to have to wait that long to do that correction.
Yeah. And
right?
the local funeral homes won't usually put anything in if it's that long a time between issues because they want to get the service in. Mm-hmm. So typically we miss that service to the community, doing it as best as we can. Yeah. Not being more frequent. So,
and then how about announcements like babies and weddings.
Yeah, that's coming. We
yeah,
haven't.
same.
We had one person announce or commemorate their parents' 50th wedding anniversary.
Cute.
But other than that, we haven't had much of that yet, and we want to get there for sure because there's an attributed good news section in the paper, and we do that because it's really important that the media doesn't just tell you the bad news.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, it sort of has that holistic kind of basis. So,
because people start to avoid the news. I don't watch the news anymore. It's just bad news all the time. So I just.
Well, it's a very good point. I ran into somebody over there and said the same thing. I said, all this bad. I showed her the second. It was only half a page. She said, I'm like, well, we're gonna make it bigger and we're gonna try to make it more as we grow. But I think that's the Chronicle is actually really full of like great stories about like festivals in town.
Yeah.
And, sports heroes and like arts and entertainment stuff and history about like different parts of the community. So I think that's kind of the cultural DNA hopefully we're creating in the paper is like a paper that's got a variety of news. It's sort of like more thoughtful because we are coming from a monthly sort of history or a monthly beginning, a monthly publishing schedule at the beginning, and that helps us kind of like remember that so if there's a big fight on Victoria Street, gets in all the news, like does it really matter in the end if someone it can matter, it doesn't, but always if it's sensational and it's immediate, it tends to get a lot more coverage. And I don't think that's also...
That doesn't represent us.
Well, it's not
as
good.
a
It's
town.
not good for people. It's not good for media. I think in the end.
Because quite often it's rushed, and it's not always like if it's immediate response to something that's happened, you may not have all the information. Some of the information may be inaccurate.
Yeah.
It's a challenge.
Well, I also say it's not nutritious.
Well,
It's, there's
newsprint, but
so what I mean by that is like there's news that's really good to know.
Mm-hmm.
Like if there's a murder in Kamloops, it's okay. It's maybe nice to know that, or not nice, but it's important to know that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But it's more important to know if that's part of a longer term trend. It's going up or it's going
Or
down.
what we're doing about it.
What we're doing about it. I just leave people hopeless to say, yes.
Yeah, that's a fair point.
Someone got broken into in Victoria Street. That happens all the time.
Yeah.
And so, and it happened all the time before. I mean, it's obviously increased. But the question becomes, again, what are we doing about it? Is it, again, a part of a long-term trend? Why don't people believe the stats that say it's going down? Like, those are all really much more, I think, important things for people to know about.
The context.
Yeah, and so maybe I'm being a little snobbish, right? But I'm thinking to myself, like, do I really need to know there was a big, massive car accident on the Coquihalla? It's sad for the people who were in the car accident, but do I need to know about that as if I'm driving? Yeah.
In Kamloops.
Yeah, in Kamloops. But should I know about highway safety trends generally? Yeah, I probably know about that and what's happening generally speaking, what's going on.
Interesting point.
I'm much in the pretty face.
So do you have a part that has been your favorite of entering the news industry? That was maybe a surprise to you.
I don't know if it's been a surprise, but my favorite part is actually like, this part of it where, we get it done. The issues basically sent to the printer.
It's a weight off the shoulders. There's a sense of relief.
Now you're just wanting therapy, but it's really for me more about that sense of like, wow, we produced something.
Yeah.
That's going to be 20,000 pieces of thing going out all over the community. That's not, and we facilitate that. We don't own that. It's a facilitation of community good, right? And so that's a really exciting part. And so, when the first issue, actually, Tom and I, the chair of our board, we actually drove down to Vancouver to get it because we were a day late getting it submitted. So we got it in Vancouver, in Coquitlam, and we're like, wow, we're just like giddy little school kids. We're like, wow, like we thought about this for like a year and 2 months we've been at this, and now it's a reality, right? And so that's really a cool feeling. And when people call you and they say, we want to put an ad in, or we want to donate, or we want to help out, it just makes you feel good that it's all, people are kind of getting into the momentum of getting it going.
A lot of people are on the same page with you guys. They might not work for the paper, but they really love the paper.
Well, and it's not so much, it is really about a community effort. So, like I always say, people sometimes say, oh, it's Arjun's paper because I was the guy who kind of got it all going in the beginning.
Oh,
But
I thought it was Todd's paper.
it is Todd's paper.
It's everybody's paper, Kelsey.
Everybody's
It's also your paper.
It's my
well,
paper.
so if it was anybody's paper beyond everybody, it's Todd's. Because he puts it together. Because he decides.
His head's gonna keep growing, you guys.
Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot about that. Yeah.
Shrink it. There we go.
No, but it is so. Like, I do value the practice of journalism. I do value never having been a journalist. I do value, news and information as a citizen. So, like, I'm just piece of punch to be involved with that.
I'm just wondering, what do you think makes a good and what makes a bad journalist?
Oh, that's probably longer than we have time to actually go into. But I think a good journalist is somebody who has a good ethical sort of compass, who's also understanding that I don't think anybody's completely objective. Everybody has their subjective, so you have to actually bring in a diversity of views, and you have to kind of like have that perspective, right? And I think somebody who's I don't think ambulance chasing, if you want to call it that, is a good form of journalism. And I said that kind of before in more words, but I think you have to kind of be somebody who really thinks about, the benefit to like the larger society about what you're writing about, what you're talking about, and how that's going to come, how people are going to read it, as opposed to just like trying to scratch an itch. Like I want to write a story because I'm so curious about this, I'm so interested. That's cool, but it really should meet a community need.
Right.
In the end, right? You should say, well, okay, I love this, but maybe I'm going to write about this somewhere else, because then the community newspaper needs to have,
or I need to find a new angle into this, or
whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
But it needs to have that marriage of like the journalist and the community in a really strong way, right? And so we depend on journalists because I don't know, it's funny because we do the news quiz at Overlanders Day. Like, a lot of folks weren't getting questions right, and I was like, oh, this is kind of interesting. Like, they don't know who some of the candidates in the federal election were. We were giving them little like hints and and kind of like whatever. But I think it's really important people keep informed, right? And people are so busy in their lives right now, and obviously with the post-COVID kind of isolation we've all been going through. So to bring people back together, that kind of common square, I think journalists have a really amazing and important responsibility. And so I would just ask people to consider what they want to see and tell us, what they think good journalism is, and then we can kind of like try and keep that going as well.
And I think with the Chronicle, it gives people the opportunity to put their phone down, sit down, read a paper, and like really absorb what's going on in regards to like the whole like media literacy and being aware, as opposed to just like grabbing a headline off of Twitter or whatever.
I don't tell Todd when I write with AI. I just don't tell him anymore. I want to thank the both of you for doing this. This is very kind of you to talk about the paper, and I think it is again like something that a lot of us put a lot of time into, and we're really trying to get out to the larger community and say, hey, look, like, we want to work on this together. We there's no ownership of anything. We want to make sure people feel like they can come and help us grow it all together in a really positive way. So it's been great so far, and again, we got big ambitions to make it to the next level here. And there's lots of things to do. So when you ask what people could do, just let us know what you think you could do. We all want to work collaboratively together, right? We don't want people to kind of like come in sort of like guns a-blazing and start trying to like, let's work together in a really good collaborative kind of a way.
Yeah.
Well,
thank you for joining us as well. Like, we're really focused on trying to highlight interesting, cool things or people that are that make Kamloops unique. And I think the Chronicle, especially the fact the way that you brought it back as a nonprofit, I think is really interesting.
Back, yeah.
And I think it's maybe we'll see more and more newspapers taking that model in the coming years. Maybe
for sure. I think it's a really powerful model, and it tends to. I think it just works for Kamloops. I mean, what I know is I know Kamloops. I think I know Kamloops. I think I know pretty. I think that worked pretty well. The nonprofit model. It just kind of got more people on board. Yeah.
We're over time.
We're over time.
You.
Holy cow!
Woo-hoo.
Do you want to say hello or goodbye to anybody before we go?
Hi, Mom.
She lives right there.
Hi, Mom.
Mom looks really nice.
Yeah, thank you.
And you have a tennis court.
My parents had that.
That's pretty rad.
That's pretty cool.
Inoperational now, but it's.
Is it?
Yeah. Well, it's still you play that up. You can play tennis, but we
Right.
don't play anymore. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Say Livy.
Okay.
Well,
Cool.
thanks for watching, everybody.
And thank you so much for doing something that people appreciate so much.
Thank you.
Not just old people.
Thank Todd too. Good guy.
Yeah. Thanks.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
Yeah. See you.